but we just don't ever end up making that much money. So we just, when we had our first child, he ended up being diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He'll be 6 next week, and he needs therapy every day, and so I started staying home with him, but my husband's continued to work all along. And about 4 years ago, it started to really be a struggle with the one income. My son did qualify for SSI payments, but we were really struggling, so we were living in a place in Worcester that it was really not, it was an apartment building, but not a good place to be. There was a lot of drug activity, it was a high crime, riddled with crime, and you would literally have, I remember going to job interviews myself, and you'd have to step over bodies in the hallway, there'd be needles everywhere, bottles of urine, and it just was not a good place to be. But we were paying privately there $950 a month in rent. And we have been always late every month, but keeping up on all our payments. And we finally, one of the tenants, it got so bad that the owner of the property, the building that we were living in, asked us to testify against him in court, and we said no, because at the time I had not only my son, but my daughter, who was just an infant. They were both just, one was 1 and one was 3. This was about, 4 years ago. And as soon as we said no, we were all of a sudden being evicted. So we were evicted in the amount of $950 in court. And we were literally ended up living in our car for almost a month after that happened, because I didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do or where to go. So I had contacted all these places, like has been talked about here today, like DTA, DHCD, emergency assistance shelters, and like everybody has said, we had to prove, that we had been living in our vehicle for almost a month just to be able to be qualified, which we did end up doing after almost a month's time. And we were in a shelter and stayed there for about 6 months, a scattered site family shelter through emergency assistance. And just the way we were treated there was just a really negative experience. It was just really difficult, and we ended up being placed in the home-based program, which that didn't work out very well either. So that was in October of 2014. So this month, it would have been 2 years that we would have been at our past residence. But the place where they put us in Worcester, they took in a bunch of homeless families. They knew that was the situation, but they had intended on selling the building, which they didn't disclose to any of us. So in September of 2015, the CMHA Central Mass Housing Alliance and the home-based program have been paying a portion of our rent every month up until September of 2015, so about a year from when we had entered that residence. And you were responsible for giving a rent receipt every month and attending a monthly meeting, which we did up until that month, when we were under the impression that was it. We became responsible for paying a full month's rent at that place, which was $850 a month. And so because we didn't pay, because I didn't turn in that rent receipt for that month in September of 2015 and attend one meeting, we were given a termination letter from the home-based program, which determines us ineligible for emergency assistance shelter for 2 years, 24 months. So my family and I can't re-enter a shelter, an EA shelter, until September of next year, 2017. So we didn't think much of it. I didn't understand at the time that legally you could appeal something like that. And we were doing very well. It had been years, we were starting to improve and things were looking up. Well, in March of this year, we simultaneously lost my son's SSI check and my husband lost his job. So we had 0 income for the month of March. We explained that, and I'm assuming because they wanted to sell the building, it was an easy way to get us out. But they dragged us through all the court process, which unfortunately we were familiar with from having gone through it before, years back. And we my husband almost immediately found another job. He works as a security guard and makes barely above minimum wage doing that. I'm home with our children. I'm expecting another one actually due in February. And so we explained the situation to our landlord, and my husband within weeks found another job, as I said, the one he's currently employed at. And I appealed my son's SSI case, which I won and was able to receive retroactive payments, but that was a very extensive process, so that took a while. And it took about a month for my husband's paychecks to kick in. So we did catch up. We continued to pay the $850 every month, and they took the payments from us, but they would never take that one payment from the month of March where we had no income. So I filed a stay of execution in the court, so my children were able to finish school. So we were evicted Friday, June 17th of this year, 2 days after my children finished school. So because of home base terminating us for not turning in a receipt and attending a meeting once, that determines my family ineligible to go to an emergency assistance shelter. I've applied to probably between 50 and 100 non-EA shelters in the state, which all have waiting lists for years. So now, unlike last time, it has nothing to do with our income. We do qualify based off of that. So unlike last time, we have nowhere else to go. So we're temporarily staying with my mother in Somerville, who's also being asked to leave. People were talking about that too, that a lot of people are being asked to leave. So that place is being sold as well. So that's only a very temporary solution. And so pretty much because of policies in place right now and everything everybody's been talking about today, my husband and I and our 2 children, and with 1 child on the way, are looking at being back to square one, back and living in our vehicle, because I have literally nowhere else to go. So it's only a matter of time now, and that's where we're gonna be. So we're contacting every organization and person and applying for every place possible, and it's kind of like what people are talking about, you're not homeless enough, like because we are temporarily at my mother's and not in a shelter or in our car at the moment, even though people don't realize it's not it's not a permanent solution. It's very, very temporary and will be ending any day now. We've just been brushed aside and blown off, and because of the way that things are with emergency assistance shelters, it's we will have literally nowhere to go. So that's where we're gonna be as the winter months approach, and yeah. So that's pretty much, I just wanted to speak, when I heard everybody else speak, that it's, sometimes no matter how hard you work or what you do, or, you still find yourself in a position where, this is what happens, or like people's solution, or I contacted the DTA to immediately report that we were no longer paying rent because we had been evicted and we're homeless again. So they cut off our food stamps and everything like that, because, and what they said to me was, you're lucky that you are staying with your mother for the time being, because if not, we'd have DCF right on you. That's everybody's solution, is just to, so it's sometimes you don't want to speak up about things, because you have to, even if you're taking all the necessary steps and doing everything you can possibly do, it just seems like, there's, I don't know. So it just, like, a lot of responses I've gotten from people and a lot of organizations I've dealt with, there's either no funding, or there's waiting lists, or we're not homeless enough, or there's just always something where people have suggested, because my husband and I are married, I'd be better off as a single. I'd get more help or more if we separated. So it's like, is that what it's come to? My husband and I have to separate, just to, like, that's literally what we're discussing now because I don't know what else to even do, and even then I don't know if that's gonna really solve any of the issues, but we don't have other family to stay with, other than my mom, and even, as I said, that's not gonna be going on for much longer, so every day it's just like time is ticking and I don't know, so I just, yeah, if somebody hadn't decided to terminate us from that program, I guess is my point, then we would have still been eligible. That is literally, I have all the documentation, all the paperwork, everything from all of this. Literally, it's a box checked off, like non-compliance for not turning in one receipt and attending one meeting is now why we have nowhere to go. So, I just wanted to share that because I think that's pretty disturbing that that's the situation that we're in right now, so. But yeah, that's what